There we go. We're going. We are live with Five Boys in the Business.
Hair. My hair, dude.
Fix that hair. All right, everybody. Glad that you're here this week. We've got, that was really good music you had going.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to keep playing it. I was just saying, okay, well, go ahead and keep playing it, man. I do better with music anyway. All right, so thanks for watching us. You can catch us on any of the podcast channels. And, we're talking about business, boys in business. Harrison doesn't like my microphone ever. If there's ever a time where he doesn't come adjust my microphone, I don't know, I might have to move, which then would make him adjust my microphone because I'd be doing a happy dance. So then we'd still be back to the point of him adjusting my microphone. Okay.
You broke it.
All right. So last week, we were talking about our book and we were talking about the ongoings of the family.
Yes.
So last week, we do need to mention, you're laughing at me already.
I'm not.
That last week we had a super exciting event with Trevor.
Yes.
This is Trevor, who is 18, goes to Guerin Catholic, and he's in the Wings Academy, which was started
By her.
by who?
You.
I didn't start that. Kelly Wilson.
It was you were the idea behind it.
Okay, well, I might have said, hey, guys, I really want my other child to be able to go to Guerin Catholic and have a Catholic education, or at least a faith-based education.
Got it.
And he was not going to be able to. And so when I was visiting with Kelly Wilson said, you know what? Yeah, because she had asked, is Trevor coming? And I said, he can't go. There's no way for him to go because it's a strictly only diploma track.
Yeah, and back up a little bit. For those that don't know, all public schools have this, but you have two diploma tracks or completion tracks, I guess, in high school curriculum. You have the diploma, which is what most people get, and you have those that because the state and I think the federal government has certain requirements you have to meet in order to get your diploma.
Right.
But then there's for kids like Trevor who are special needs, then they have it's a certificate track.
Correct.
So and Guerin Catholic at the time did not have a certificate track program. So
only diploma track. And so he was going to have to go through public school, which is fine. They serve a very good purpose. But Trevor likes faith-based education. And so I wanted him to have the opportunity. It made me sad to think that all the other boys would be afforded that opportunity and he would not be.
Right.
And so Kelly Wilson was asking me, we were talking about it. And then she got in front of some people that also believed that, hey, listen, we should be able to educate really pretty much anyone that comes to our door. And so Dawn Street and Mr. McNeely and the previous president there, all made it, Father Hahn, they all made it happen.
Yeah.
And it's been great. And they've done an amazing job. I can't say enough things about.
Something I was struck by the other day during, and to kind of back up, it was the Providence dinner, where they raised funds for scholarships, things like that for the school. And Trevor got up and gave an introduction, actually the
speech.
A quick speech about the Wings Academy. And it was great. He did great. I was really concerned the night before, wasn't it? Because he had probably 75% of it memorized, but he kept laughing. I was like, oh no, what are we going to do? But he got up there and did great, and we got it on tape.
Do you know what
awesome.
we read, though? Is going to the book. We'll go back to this in the book.
Right.
What the laughing does for you. Do you remember that when you were reading? What laughing releases?
Keep you from crying? What?
No. Okay, stop. We'll go to it when we come to the book. We're talking about the book. All right. So he got up there and gave the speech. And this child practiced more than any high school student I would know. This is what you should do if you want to give a speech, basically.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he practiced in different environments. He practiced in front of students, his class of students in Dawn Street's class. He's practiced in front of faculty. He practiced once the stage was set up and the podium was set up. He practiced in a hallway with a bandstand so he could have distractions. I mean, he was set. He was ready. And I think for him, it was fascinating to watch. I was telling my sister this yesterday when I was with her, that he understood that he was nervous. He got that that's what it was from. He was nervous because he was giving a speech and he was unfamiliar with that task. And so, am I going to do well? All of us feel that way. What was fascinating is that he didn't know when it would stop. Like you and I giving a speech, we'd be like, all right, I'm going to feel better as soon as it's over. It's not, that's not something you would have to know or understand. You would just know, like, I'm going to feel better. As soon as I stop talking, I'm better.
Right.
I just have to get through the speech. For him, he had asked me the question, which was so fascinating. He was like, when will this feeling go away? And I was like, oh my God, he thinks he's going to live with this feeling forever. He thinks I'm going to be nervous until the end of high school, senior year. And I was like, oh no, it stops. As soon as you stop talking and you are done, all of that you're feeling right now goes away. And it was just absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, but that kind of fits up with Trevor, because I think I've always said he can tell you what 2 + 2 is, but he can't, the logic behind it, he struggles with.
Right.
So he probably struggles with the logic of the feeling.
Right.
Whereas we could work it through in our mind.
Right.
So I don't think that for whatever reason within his limitations, that's kind of goes with it.
But that speaks to his. I couldn't believe that, because we would laugh, because he would say, I said, oh, guess what they want you to do? He loves talking. This is a child who knows everyone. He knows people that don't even know him. I mean, like, that he would remember from 10 years, 15 years ago, this child knows everyone and loves to talk to everyone. And I said, so when the school asked me, would this be something?
We call him a child. He's 19.
When he said, school said, would Trevor be willing to do this? And I said, oh, yeah. I didn't even ask him, because I thought, oh, he loves to talk. And so when I said, Trevor, guess what you get to do? You get to give a speech at the Providence Dinner. He's like, nah, I don't really think I want to do that. And I go, oh, no, I already said you would do it.
Right.
So we have to do it. And he was like, I really don't think I want to do that. And I was like, oh, but we're going to do it. So he wrapped his brain around it, and he did it.
Yeah, that was interesting, too. I mean, this is self-evident, but I was watching him speak, and I thought, my God, he's a senior.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's hard to believe that it's gone by that quickly. So all you freshmen out there that are headed to high school next year, it goes by very, very quickly.
Super fast. And the love that the school has for him is, like, when he got up and everybody just
cheered.
Went bananas.
It was great. He did a great job.
Yeah, he did an awesome job. So we had that going on last week. That was super exciting. And kudos to Garen for making that happen, because otherwise we wouldn't have that opportunity.
It was a good dinner. I thought the music was good. They did a great job.
Yeah. Yeah, so
they always do things very well, though.
So they're saying for the Providence dinner their hashtag was "This is why," and that's exactly right. This is why. That's why he goes there. So so all you people who don't know about the Wings Academy, or potentially have students that have special needs, and you don't think didn't know that it was an opportunity, it is. So go check it out. Find out about it.
They just have 2 students now, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So they want more students. They want to help as many people as they can.
They showed Harry's video before Trevor's speech, which is awesome.
Really cool.
Harrison cut a video promoting, basically telling the story of the Wings Academy, and they showed it to the entire room, about 600 people. So it was good.
Yeah, it was
a great
awesome.
night.
So we had that. Then we had...
I forgot now what the heck went on last week. It's several days.
We had cross country on Saturday.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
And hot.
It's hot. Kids could have run better, but it's all a learning experience.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
I'm always amazed at the excuses. Isn't that interesting? There's always a reason why.
I wonder if I
it's
didn't
too hot.
Well, because
I didn't eat well.
I didn't.
And I'm like, those 10 things you just listed, they're kind of under your control. So it's like, if a meteor hits in front of you, I get it. You get blasted off the course. You control your breakfast. You control your sleep. No, in fact,
I just don't know why I didn't run well. It could be because
your legs weren't moving as fast as the other guys. That's part of it. See that line you crossed? He got there before you. We can keep talking about the reasons if you want.
But the end result is the same. He got there before you. Okay. So let's see. Do I have anything else on my threads? Let's see here. Hold on one second. Hold on. We had Friday night. We got to play tennis on Friday night.
We did.
That was a blast.
That was a lot of fun. I hadn't picked up a racket in probably 20 years. I used to play tennis a lot until I met this girl I used to hang around with a lot, and she didn't like tennis, so no more tennis.
I like tennis.
No, you don't. In South Bend, I remember try to get you to play, and you're like, nah, I don't want to play.
It's more fun when you're playing the doubles, because you don't have to cover the whole court.
Okay, we were like 25. We could have covered the whole court back then. We just didn't like to play.
I don't know why I didn't like to.
I
don't know. I never played tennis, but I played on Friday night.
But it was a blast. It was
a
lot
of
of fun.
And we had fun. And Dr. Duckwall came because she's a tennis professional.
And thank God for Duckwall, because
she played in college. So she had a scholarship at Ball State playing tennis. And so she, I'm sure, thought we were ridiculous, but
it was fun,
entertained us.
I thought it was a lot of fun. She looked together wicked. The biggest platter I've ever seen probably of food.
Oh, and Sheila, yeah, we played over at Bridgewater, and Sheila brought some food, and
It was great. It's a good time.
we played under the lights, and it was a blast.
I was thinking about that workout. I mean, it was hot outside, muggy, but I was soaked with sweat.
Yeah, it was hot.
Yeah.
It was very hot.
But it was a lot of fun. I definitely would play again.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd play too poorly.
No one busted their Achilles tendon or
That's a plus.
their knee or anything
I was
else.
sore though the next day.
Yeah, my shoulder was sore.
I mean, my legs were
My
sore.
arm was sore from all my power hits.
Your power hits. The manager had to come out there and say, "Ma'am, will you please stop hitting the ball so hard? You're knocking the paint off the court."
Yep, exactly. No, it would have been duck wall. So I said, "Are you tired of just like half-ass playing it?" And she was like, "Yeah, well, here, let me just hit some full speed." And I was like, "Go back to halfway."
No, it's funny though because
hitting 'em
you'll
so
play
fast.
with people like that. I think you guys were talking about that in basketball too, right?
Yeah.
And how it's tough to play sometimes with people who aren't as good as you because it's just hard.
Yeah.
You have to dial your game so far down
Yeah.
to play.
Yeah. And then it's
I don't
not
have
as
any
fun.
personal experience with that or anything. This person played basketball with her one time only,
Oh gosh.
and she would coach me in the court. Pick your arms up, do this. I'm like, oh my god, I'm just here to play.
I did not coach you. On
Yes,
the
you
court.
did. Yes, you
I
did.
did not.
Called fouls, all kinds of stuff.
I did not.
Pulled out your yellow flag and threw it.
That'd be football.
What?
And then I got to go to the Colts game yesterday with my sister and brother-in-law, and that was cool because Adam Vinatieri scored all of his points. Although his very first field goal, he hit the upright.
Did he really?
And thank God it went in because I don't know what the rest of the game would have looked like for him. The poor man. I mean, I'm sure he has like so many people going. My sister sitting next to me in the seat goes, I wonder if he's had his eyes checked. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure he hasn't thought about that at all.
There's only millions of dollars on the line.
I was like, no. She's like, I bet, yeah, you're right. I bet he's thought about that. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that he's probably thought about that.
This is not funny because it'd be terribly tragic, but if it went like basketball, a ringer, and it went hit the uprights and then fell in front.
Well, that's where it hit the upright and it fell to the other side. Thank God. Because, I mean, it could have just as easily fallen to it not being good. And I think he would have just walked off. I don't know what he would have done. Everybody wants him to do well because he's a nice person.
Right.
He's good for the team. He's good for, and you just want to see people like that succeed. And when they're not, it's just, you're just heartbroken.
I think,
for them.
it's so funny because those guys make it look so effortless, but I bet it is extraordinarily difficult to be consistent like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially in that, it's got to be
those distances, everything has to be just
consistency
right.
and
and the fact that he's doing it at his age still is, he's a pro. So
it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And it's so funny because it's such a simple function, yet it's so difficult and it can mean so much for the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
So
and
hats
oh
off
my
to
gosh,
him.
though, the city of Indianapolis did not have their stuff together. It took forever to get. They have all these streets closed for whatever reason.
Really?
And they were not directing traffic. I mean, a lot of people had their tickets on their phones.
Oh.
And their scanners weren't working, so the lines were ridiculous to get into the game. And so I was like, oh my God, somebody's going to get yelled at on Monday because I always look at those things, especially owning a business, like how inefficient. I'm like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Like,
right.
Anyway. So that was the only bad thing
I'm
about
surprised
it.
they don't have like a turnstile type system.
They just have individuals out there, walking through a scanner, and then you got to scan the ticket. Well, the hard tickets, which had the barcode on them, those were no problem. It was the people showing them their phones that had the barcode on the phone. And for whatever reason, it was not working.
Yeah, I don't know. Those sporting events, I think, given what they have to do, they generally, in my experience, when I've gone, they do a good job. But I could totally see it because it's such a mass of people, any kind of bottleneck like that.
Right.
Can just be not good. But
Yeah,
the past couple games we've been to, I thought we got in and out pretty quick.
Oh, no, it's been so nice. They had T-shirts, which was really cool. They get for the season opener, and these little phone stand things they were giving away. It was really cool.
I could totally see having tickets like that
Oh yeah,
to drive down.
yeah, for sure. It was fun. And the game was 1:00, so it's not like you're out late or anything.
I remember that
nice.
one of the best games we ever went to. This is years ago. I think we had maybe just moved back here, and we went with your dad. And it was a late game, remember? and it was near Christmas, and they were handing out blue
Oh yeah, stocking
Santa
hats.
hats.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I remember looking over, and your dad had one of the Santa hats on.
Oh yeah,
With the colds. It was cool.
that was a blast.
I remember I think he said, "Can we go now? Didn't we just get to our seats?
Yes.
Yeah, can we leave now?" I'm like, "We just got here."
Oh yeah,
4 quarters, buddy.
He was like 5.
He was not the public event kind of person. I took him to the race. The same thing.
Not.
Can we leave now? It's like the race hasn't started.
You're still that way? Okay. There we go. All right. So
What else you got?
that's it for the events this week.
A lot of big week coming up this next week.
Big week coming up this
Travel.
next week. We're traveling. Got to go to
Phoenix conference. It's hot.
veterinary management conference in Phoenix. If anybody knows anything cool to do in Phoenix, send it our way.
Sheila talked about, didn't Sheila? Because her son lives there, right?
Yeah, we talked to Sheila about.
There's a bunch of places to hike, but I don't know if we'll get to do that or not. We'll see.
So we're doing that, and then the next week I
You go to Kentucky.
to visit with some veterinarians about ProHeart 12.
And then we have another. I mean, October is going to be a busy month for us.
So yeah,
Yeah, that'll be fun. And then really things sort of slow down in November. I mean, pretty much. You're in Florida pretty much the whole month, right?
I am not.
I think you are. The 3rd through the 28th, right? We're
That is
doing
not
Thanksgiving
true.
alone this year?
That's not true.
I think it is, actually.
It's not.
I think it is, yeah.
So last week we talked about the book a little bit,
Leaders Eat Last.
and then we didn't bring it into the podcast. So this is the book we're reading.
Simon Schneck.
This is kind of a new segment we're going to do that because we do a lot of reading and we do a lot of group think, I guess, after reading them and trying to come up with how we want the business to roll and what the culture we want to create at the clinic and perpetuate. And so this is one of our most recent books by Simon Sinek, called Leaders Eat Last.
He's written a bunch of books. He's got one called Start With Why, which is really good. A very profound book, in my opinion. And we're probably reading 2 to 3 books at a time, generally. There are limitations to that sometimes, I think. But generally what I found is most effective for me is I've already read the book, and then I'll just go back and have to review what we're looking at. That's a good book, though. It talks about eliminating fear within the workplace. And once you eliminate that fear, that people perform better, the productivity goes up because they're happier.
So basically the first section that we talked about last week was creating that circle of safety. Right? I mean, trying to figure out how to...
You have to refresh my memory. Did he talk about loss of job as part of the circle of safety, or is it all interpersonal?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, he talks about conflict in the book, like amongst coworkers. And it's part of the circle of safety, too, because if you go in...
He's basically like saying that you should not have to fight forces within the walls of your job, that there's enough outside evil that needs to be handled. So if you're busy and preoccupied with fighting evil within your walls, then you're distracted and you can't do what you need to be doing, which is managing your competitors.
Right.
And taking care of the evil forces on the outside.
Right. Well,
darkness.
I thought about this. You always see these segments, or not expose is the wrong word, but it shows like inner city schools or bad schools that kids go to, and some of the crime and some of the things that happen within the schools. And one of the common themes you hear is, if you can't, there's so much strife within the school, and these kids are dealing with so many things outside of the school as well. How can that possibly be conducive to a positive learning environment?
Yep.
Sort
exactly.
of like that.
Yeah, exactly like that. So that was the first, like, basically what he was doing in the first 3 chapters was kind of summing up and selling you on the idea that you have a personal responsibility to create a culture such that people feel valued within the workplace. And that if you do that, they're not busy fighting forces within, but they're busy fighting the forces outside the walls, which is good for your business.
Right.
But then also leads to a feeling of being valued. And that everyone has a responsibility to do that, not just the leaders, but everyone in the organization has a responsibility to create that culture.
Right.
So, and then now we've moved into like chapter, let's see here. Like this week with the doctors, we talked about chapter 2 or part 2, which is basically talking about how you naturally can create a positive work environment due to the naturally released substances that we do. So like, and it goes back to when we used to be hunters and gatherers. That's why I thought you would like this book, because it talked about hunting and gathering, the philanthropic times.
Oh, it talks about the lack of yes, I think I
Right?
remember
When you
that.
were back in the day, when all you were worried about was
What was right in front of you.
what was right in front of you, and the fact that the way your brain worked then was, your body's set up to manage survival and to be successful. And
Right.
so but the challenges were different way back in the day than they are now. And so then trying to
You still have the same effect, life or death kind of physiological response
right.
to some of the quote unquote threats that you experience today.
And so that people used to be in groups, smaller groups, and then there were these innate things that occurred because you were in these smaller groups, is what he's talking about.
You know what's fascinating? This is a bit off topic, but it's fascinating to think that you could go back 100,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago, and pluck someone out of that, say an infant, and then put them in modern day society, and they could function just like we do today. But yet they had so many fewer. That's the wrong thing. So few things to worry about back then, unlike what we have to worry about today. Survival, of course, things like that.
Right.
But how it was very focused. You ate, you procreated, and that's it.
Right.
That was your world. And how I think in modern day society, people get overwhelmed because you're hardwired to do this basket of things, but yet you're being thrust into things that are overwhelming mentally because we didn't kind of evolve like that. I mean, haven't just yet. So
Right.
but yet I do think what else is fascinating, again off topic, is you look at things in the wild, or you look at threats, predators, things like that, and how we are incredibly weak compared to other apex
Species.
predators.
Yeah.
You have your mind and tools, and that's about it.
Yeah, but he gives the example of the alligator and the fact that the alligator, there's something that swims, there's two alligators and something swims across the river, and the first alligator to get it gets it, and the other he doesn't feel bad about the other alligator not getting it, and he just got it, and the other alligator doesn't get mad at the other alligator for getting it. It's just the way it goes. They don't have the ability to, so for them that works, but for us that type of mentality doesn't work. So
It's interesting you bring that up because I think Brian Callen talked about this once.
because he says we're built to work together is basically what his point is.
Yeah, like create a culture, society,
Right. And so-
civilization.
right.
They were saying that's one of the biggest differences among humans and the rest of the, say, animal kingdom, is that you don't have, crocodiles don't create a society or a culture.
Right.
I mean, they just have what's right in front of them, like you say. And and so that's what distinguishes us from other species, is our ability to create a culture and history and context and that kind of thing.
So he goes through the different chemicals that get released in different circumstances. So endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. And then he goes and he talks about the fact that some of these chemicals are short term, some of them are long term, and some you're not designed to be living with them forever because it
Right.
creates bad things like cortisol,
Right.
which I found absolutely interesting. So he mentioned laughing
Makes you
because
fat. Cortisol makes you fat.
it can. Isn't that what the commercials say?
Says too much cortisol.
And it shows the mid-abdomen, the fat around your
Shows a
mid-abdomen.
picture of you, and you're like, "What? I didn't get permission to use that."
But it talked about laughing, and that laughing releases one of the chemicals, and so then therefore that's your way of coping. So that is why Trevor was laughing when he was uncomfortable, because it's your body, it's Mother Nature's natural response to the stress.
Oh,
Do you remember reading that? You don't remember reading that?
I probably did read it. I mean, yeah.
Where did he talk about it in here? I will find it.
So that's where stand-up comedy started.
Yes.
The caveman picked up a torch before they went on a hunt. Is that what it was?
Yes, absolutely.
I remember my grandfather said something about stress once. He said, it's just in your mind. And I thought it's so interesting because he was an older and, much more wise than I was at the time. But there is a lot of truth to that, where if you look at things in context and what really could be wrong, most things aren't that big a deal. So says
You.
talking to myself. Where's the can of beans, Harrison?
I was trying to find the spot where it talked
Your
about
mother's
the
in
laughing.
deep thought over here. She reads the book.
I was trying to find the part where it talked about the coughing. I mean, the laughing, not the coughing.
Cough before you laugh.
Yeah, it was so good. It was really funny.
You know, it's so funny. You read these books sometimes, though, and you think, this is a lot of really good knowledge. And this is really good. Why don't you go do it? Do you know what kind of organization these guys could run if they took all this stuff they're writing about and created a company?
Well, that's true. But he wants you to be successful.
He wants to sell books.
Well, that's probably his business.
I'm joking, Simon, if you're listening, and I know you're not.
So
Harrison's like, viewership's taking a nosedive.
So anyway, okay, so that's the first and second part of the book. So then we are on to part 3.
Already?
Yep.
Okay, I'll have to read that then. Good book. Go buy it. Use the link at the bottom.
Basically, yes, and basically the thing that we are supposed to be focused on is creating environments in which the right chemicals are released for the right reasons.
There you go. Use promo code 5BB.
Hashtag death to cortisol.
Hashtag death to cortisol.
Because cortisol freaking kill you. Okay.
You think so?
Well, it's used to drive you, like to make you act. You know, like it's like, but if you stay in that state, it's not meant to stay there forever. And so if you stay there in that state, then when the threat has passed and you're still in the state, that's when you run into trouble. That's why people have problems.
Why does it make you overweight?
Because it puts you in, it causes you to live in a perpetual fear of
scarcity.
For anxiety. No, I don't know why he doesn't talk about how it makes you overweight in here. So I don't know the answer to that.
He didn't talk about that?
He did not. I don't know.
I think you should talk about that.
No.
Because being overweight, doesn't that kind of self-perpetuate your stress?
Well, sure. I'm sure it would.
The more stressed you are, the larger you get, the more stressed you are.
Maybe? I don't know. So, anyway.
Good book.
There's that. Okay, so there's
that.
What we'll do next week is try and itemize it better.
Just bring one thing bullet point out of what you read.
And then that way that can be
like an overall theme of the particular chapter. That's what I mean.
So now he's going to move on to tell us how to achieve those environments, probably.
I thought, in closing, I think some of that stuff is really good. I think sometimes they're probably meant for large organizations. Just because I think it's small organizations, it's really hard.
See, I disagree.
Really?
Yes. I think small organizations, it's easier to create it. You have less moving parts and less people that you're responsible for to make sure they don't mess it up. Like here we have 5 leaders. Okay, the 5 of them need to be pushing that agenda forward, and they know their goals and they know what things they're doing, and then under them.
Right.
Whereas like in a big organization, it's like there could be so many people disrupting what you're trying to do.
Yeah, but it's all organized though. I mean, it's departmental.
You probably have all these micro environments.
Yeah, you have HR, you'd have all these other sales.
Right.
But they're all, I get it. It have to be trickle down.
I think and the reason we do this is because we consider our doctors leaders. So the doctors are reading this book. They have micro environments they're working in because they have a staff member in a room. They have clients in a room. Right. All of that plays a role, or how they behave and how they interpret situations, and the environment that they're creating all affects the people around them. The client, like the staff member, the
Dr. Inc. I've always thought about that. People, I've read this before. I might have been Stephen Covey said it. It's empowering to think that you are self-employed, even if you're employed by someone else,
right?
Because you're in control of what you do,
right?
And
and if that whole mission is to improve the lives of other people, then they need to be able to create the right environment to be able to do that. Whether it's supporting their room person, their person in treatment, the person that's helping with surgery, their client, the client's child, whatever it is.
It's so fascinating too. I think about Covey talked about this too, about paradigm shifts and how you take the exact same situation, and if you just flip your script and how you're thinking about it, how you approach it, how you analyze it, it can change the entire outcome. And he does this thing. Actually, Harrison and I went and taped something at an HR company recently, and they showed a clip of one of Covey's seminars. And he had a lady up there on stage with him, and he said, I want all these rocks, family, career, all these things, and I want you trying to fit it into this jar that's already filled with gravel. And she kept trying to push, and he says, it can't go over the top. So she's trying to fit it. She's trying to fit it, and she's in front of this huge thing, and she's trying to fit it in this thing. And she couldn't get it to work, and there was an empty one right next to it. He said, "Okay, let's try it this way." And he took all the same rocks that she couldn't fit in there, and he put them into the jar first, empty jar first, and then he took the gravel and poured it over the thing, and it came out even. And he said, "That's a paradigm shift. It's just looking at things differently and taking a different approach, and you reach the desired result." Because instead of trying to stuff it all into where the gravel already was, you let the gravel fill in around the rocks, the rocks of your life, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, which is where it goes with these books and things like that.
I like
because it changes the way you look at things.
Right.
Just like we talk about your choice. What's the one thing we talked about? Oh, one of the most powerful things, and I've said this before on the podcast, so about your position, where you are, where you want to be. It's always a choice. If you're where you are today, it's because you're choosing to be there, because that's empowering. Because you go, I'm not here because of someone else or this circumstance. 100%. I mean, you're not there 100% because of circumstance. It's because you're choosing to be where you're at. If you're in a job that you're not stuck, you're choosing to stay there because the alternative is less palatable than leaving.
Right.
And then, I mean, you go, okay, well, I'm choosing to be here. Then,
well, and even in all
these
these
things
books,
aren't being thrust upon
he talks about, and here the Whitehall studies with those where people stay in jobs they hate. They stay there. And, you and I talk about making decisions for people because sometimes they can't leave. They just won't. They don't. They won't.
Right.
They hate the job, but yet they won't make a change. And how fascinating it is that they're willing to undergo that stress and that constant
Do you think
anxiety.
Do you think people though hate things because they're not looking at it through the proper lens insofar as they hate it because they feel like these things are thrust upon them, when in fact if they thought about, I'm here, it may not be exactly what I want, but I'm here because I'm choosing to be here. These things aren't really happening to me. It's more I'm allowing this circumstance to perpetuate. You know what I mean? And does that maybe lessen their hate of the job?
Yeah, maybe.
They hate it because they're stuck, or do they hate it a little bit less because they're not really stuck, they're just choosing to stick around for a little longer?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Well, I think that they don't think that maybe by trading that job for another job, it may be as, who's to say that it would be any better? It might actually be worse. I mean, so they just don't.
Right. There was a guy I talked to recently, and he made a pretty drastic career change, and I asked him about it, and he said, I read that book Dave Ramsey recommends. I'm going to butcher the title. I think it's 40 Days to the Work You Love or something. Mm-hmm. And he said he read that book, and he said it changed his career trajectory because he realized he didn't really love what he was doing. It didn't fulfill him.
Well, I think that's where, when we read, it was either Entrepreneur Leadership or Leadership or whatever.
Leadership.
I mean, it was either that book or one of his others where he did talk about, are you passionate about what you're doing?
Well, yeah. Because he tells his personal story of doing radio. He was like a real estate broker and a real estate agent before, his story of amassing all this wealth, and then he lost it all, and that led him to counsel people, and then that led to his empire now. So
yeah, but I think that he's really big on, you have to like and enjoy what you're doing. You have to have a reason why you're doing what you're doing.
I think a lot of people don't.
Nope.
A lot of people don't. I remember a guy talking, Pat McAfee was on a podcast, I don't know, within the last year I listened to, an ex-punter for the Colts, and he said he literally hated every day of playing football. He just did it for the money. Mm-hmm. And I've heard that from other people talk about a lot of the guys that play in the NFL, they just hate it, but the payday's so big, they're going to do it for this period of time. I thought it's so interesting that they dislike it that much, but that maybe go to the toilet or the toll it takes on their body, and
oh yeah,
they're just hurt all the time. And so anyway, do the work you love. What do you think, Harry?
The work you love. Harrison
thumbs
says
up
yes.
over there.
Thumbs up.
Mr. Silent.
He loves working with us.
Can't you tell? I can tell.
Oh gosh. So.
Do you love the work you do?
Yeah.
Good.
Do you?
Yeah, most days.
I was gonna say most days.
I like the puzzle aspect of things. I like figuring things out.
Even though you're pulling your hair out at the beginning of the podcast.
What? This?
No, not the podcast itself. Before, you loved it, like you were pulling your hair out.
Oh, before this podcast?
Yes.
I'm not really pulling my hair out. It's mostly, never mind. I get tired of being right all the time. It is such a cross to bear. You know?
I don't think that's true.
Gosh.
I think that you're just so surprised the 1 or 2 times you are right.
Oh, you mean the 1 or 2 times I'm wrong? Out of
No,
98,
you're right.
99? Yeah, that's probably more like it.
Oh,
Just
gosh.
joking. I do have a tendency to oversimplify things, but I do think
Famous Richard comment, just do it that way. I don't understand. Just do it that way.
yeah, it's interesting. People's kind of goes back to our first podcast or the most recent one where we talked about the way people approach different things is different sometimes. That's why you bring new blood into an organization to look at things differently.
So with that thought, I have something to tell you.
What?
Just kidding. Bring new blood in.
Oh.
I was like,
I'm making the decision for you.
I'm making that decision for you. And so we're going to relieve you of your podcast duties. And Harrison's on board. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing you. What, you don't like my jokes, do you?
Not a good joke. Anyway.
It was too. It was a funny joke. No, Harrison? Okay.
Harrison's not laughing.
I think I'm funny.
You are funny.
Okay.
Usually.
Not as funny as you. All right. So we're about 45 minutes in. We're probably at our point where we need to wrap it up.
Really?
Do you have anything you want to leave it with people for today? Any thoughts? Any pearls of wisdom?
Regret's a bad thing.
Why do you bring up regret?
No,
What are you regretting? The podcast?
No.
The business?
We're talking. Oh my word!
Your job.
Projection over here. Hashtag projection.
Making up stories. Okay.
No. No, I just think you talking about work earlier. I mean, about loving what you do. You know, life is short. Life is long, but life is short.
What's that saying about the years are short, the days are long, or something? The days are short, the years are short, the days are long. I don't know. There's some saying about that. Like how it feels like it just goes by so fast, but in the day it seems so long.
Well, kind of going back to what I was saying about Trevor.
Right.
I mean, you look and you go, is it really been 4 years? Holy smokes. Or even Harrison. It's like, he's really 23 years old? Or whatever. You are 20, whatever. I mean, it's shocking. Let me tell you a funny story. One time I called my dad, and of course you have to know my dad to appreciate this. But it said something. It called me, I think on my birthday, but didn't realize it was my birthday. I go, oh yeah, hey. And I go, hey, how old are you? And I go, I'm 45. He goes, 45? I'm like, you were there.
No,
it's math.
The better one is your mother's.
What?
When she called you to ask you what your birthday was.
I was like, you were really there. That should be etched into your gray matter.
She's like, I'm just calling to verify that your birthday is. That is the day you were born, correct? Wasn't that what she said? Like,
she doesn't celebrate birthdays, so it doesn't. That's why. It was never birth date when it was birth date.
It's your birth date, not your birthday. Because, yeah. That's a whole other story.
That's a different story. I'll tell that sometime.
We'll tell that next podcast.
Next podcast. About why that
to be and to not to be a Jehovah's Witness.
Why that didn't happen.
Yes.
Because, okay. Why they don't celebrate birthdays.
You know why Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate birthdays.
Yeah, because in the Bible there was some story about they celebrated a birthday and some dude got eaten by lions, so they interpreted that you shouldn't celebrate birthdays.
Because you just might get eaten by lions.
Those lions in Indiana,
You've
they're
dodged
tricky.
them for 46-7 times now.
Yeah. So yeah, it's funny. Funny
there
stories.
You go.
Funny stories.
So we'll wrap up this week and we'll come back next week after. We're going to be on our trip. Harrison, what are we doing next week for our podcast?
Oh, yeah. What are we doing? We're in Kentucky.
Are we remoting in? Oh, yeah. Harrison hasn't figured that out yet. So maybe pre-recorded. Maybe
tomorrow.
Remote in.
Or do it Sunday.
Hopefully you guys find the topics interesting. Check us out on all of the podcast channels. And don't forget to check out the merch
Oh, hey, throw me a hat. Throw me a hat.
Oh
real
yeah,
quick.
throw data.
Shut up.
Well,
Yeah, whatever.
they're coming.
Whatever.
They're going to be available.
Throw
soon.
me a hat. Throw mama a hat. Throw mama a hat.
Don't put it on yet.
Why?
Just wait a second. We'll do the do 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 do.
We're gonna walk on camera.
Ooh, ooh. Okay. So yeah. So don't forget to check out the merch at All Star Merch.
ASVCmerch.com.
Merch.com. So and you just might see soon these handy dandy stocking hats for winter. Look at these. These are nice.
You don't like them?
All right, everybody. Thanks for
throw away.
joining us this week on Five Boys in a Business. And thanks for laughing with our funny stories. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
See you next time.